Alright, this is going to be my biggest list yet. Now I'm going to express my opinion for my favorite video games ever. Now, my original list, the top 20 favorite video games, was decent, but I put some games too low, too high, and I forgot some games, not to mention I got some new games since then. Now, there's some video games that you might see on the list, and some games you might not see on the list. Now, this is my opinion. You don't have to agree with me, you just have to respect my opinion. Though there's so many awesome games I've played, that does pain me to leave some games off the list. Okay, I've said enough. Enjoy my top 50 favorite video games ever. Super Mario Bros. Was great enough. But what about the Game Boy Color remake, Super Mario Bros. Deluxe? This game is even better. You can save your game, it includes lost levels, you can race a boo. You can even go to challenge mode where you're great on your score, how many red coins you get, and if you get the Yoshi egg or not. Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening is a great game. With a great storyline, epic dungeons, and an amazing soundtrack. And if you think that's great, the colored remake is even better. Because it's in color. It even has the color dungeon. Kirby's Epic Yarn is not kidding when it says epic. This game is unlike anything we've ever seen in a Kirby game up to this date. This time you can't eat enemies, but you have a lot of other cool powers, like being able to turn into a huge tank or a car. The graphics are beautiful, and it even has voice acting. The controls are also pretty good. You can't die in this game, which can be a good or bad thing. It's a bad thing because it's too easy, but also a good thing because you don't have to worry about restarting the level. This level may not play like the normal Kirby games, but that doesn't mean it's a bad game. However, I still dock points from it, but overall, it's a great game. Though the final boss could have been better. Widely considered to be the best game in the Mega Man series, Mega Man 2 took an already great franchise and made it better. It has more power-ups and it even allows you to save your game. Though to do that, it uses the password system, which I hate because you have to write down a password every time you want to save your game. On the other hand, the graphics are great for the NES, the soundtrack is great, and overall, the game is just great. Pikmin. What can I say about it? It has beautiful graphics and the environment is very well made. The game starts out with Olimar crashing onto a planet that looks like Earth. Because it has oxygen, which is hazardous for Olimar's life form, he has 30 days to survive on the planet. But he finds his rocket crashed. But does he give up? No! He goes out to find the pieces of the rocket and put the rocket back together with the help of some of his new friends, the Pikmin. Red Pikmin are heat-proof but can't swim. Yellow Pikmin are stronger and they can be thrown higher, but they hate fire and can't swim. Blue Pikmin are great swimmers but hate fire. Your goal is to get 30 ship parts back in 30 days while protecting your Pikmin from genocide. Sounds simple? Get 1 ship part per day? Well, you must be 2 parts ahead of the clock until you get to the final trial, which took me about 3 days to beat. You'll have to form a strategy to beat this game. Fire Emblem was the first ever Fire Emblem game to be released anytime out of Japan, and wow, what an amazing game! The game has amazing music, lovable characters, and great character portraits, an amazing storyline, and great character development and gameplay. If you're an RPG fan, you should definitely give this game a try. The Legend of Zelda on the NES started the greatness known as the Zelda series. It is, in my mind, the best game on the NES, and it uses the saving feature instead of that frustrating password system, and the 9 dungeons will truly put you to the test. Yep, I prefer Fire Emblem Sacred Stones over Fire Emblem. The soundtrack is better, the storyline splits in chapters 11 through 14, and if you're stuck on a chapter, you can go to the tower to train if you didn't save on the preparation screen. You also don't need Merlinus on the field where he can get killed if you want to store your items. You can just send them right then and there. That is an improved sequel. Legend of Zelda: The Minish Cap. In this game, the size does matter, though it depends on where you are. The graphics are beautiful, just like the soundtrack, not to mention the dungeon designs are great. You can also split into 4 with the 4 sword tiles. Is this game awesome or what? If you thought Phantom Hourglass was great, then see Spirit Tracks. For the first time in Zelda, you can use a train. The train feature, however, can get repetitive, but still pretty fun. This fun game has better soundtrack, more challenges, better dungeons, and the boss battles are amazing. The environments are great, the characters are greatly animated. You can even team up with Zelda and have her in armor. Wow! If you want to know what happened between the events of Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories and Kingdom Hearts 2, then here you go. Square Enix released Kingdom Hearts 358 over 2 days, and made it a masterpiece in its own way. It's really disappointing that you can't go to any new worlds, but overall, still a great game. The graphics are superior to the DS, especially in the cutscenes. You can even play as other members of the organization aside from Roxas for the first time ever. This game is a fantastic prequel to Kingdom Hearts 2, and it gave us a lot of information on Roxas' backstory. It's also an emotionally charged game, especially a certain scene that takes my mind of the saddest video game scene ever. If you don't have Kirby Superstar, even after all of those years of it being out, I'd buy Kirby Superstar Ultra if I were you. I mean, that game is even better than Kirby Superstar. Same game, just way better. Just like Kirby Superstar, it has multiple games in one, and it has so many copy abilities it's not funny. But unlike Superstar, it has better graphics, you can play it away from home, it has 2 screens and more games on it. That is a complete remake. What I don't get is why they don't let some Fire Emblem games out of Japan. Thankfully, they remade the first Fire Emblem game and brought it to our country, in the form of Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon, which is truly a great Fire Emblem game. The graphics are great, the battle sequences rule, the soundtrack is amazing, and it has 5 or 6 difficulty levels. I know I say this a lot, but I really suggest you get this game. It's amazing. Not that you have to get it or anything, just a suggestion. I think this game rules. Pokemon Gold and Silver were great enough. Heart Gold and Soul Silver not only have most of the new elements Gold, Silver, and Crystal bring, but the graphics have also greatly improved. You can catch Generation 3 and Generation 4 Pokemon. You can even reface the gym leaders. And just like Crystal, you can get more Water, Leaf, Fire, and Thunderstones. Suicune doesn't escape on the first turn, and it even has a battle frontier. You can face Yushin. If you thought Mario Kart 64 was great, sorry for not having it on the list, F-Zero X is even better. You can race 30 people at a time, the cars are much faster, you can drive in loops, it's more high-tech, and overall it's just a much better game. Sure, the graphics aren't as great, but the frame rate that Nintendo gave more emphasis on is so amazing you may not even notice how underdeveloped the graphics are. And if you're lucky, it'll even have the Rainbow Road song from Mario Kart 64. I wasn't as lucky, and I still think this game is great. Speaking of modern 3D platformers, remember when the Star Fox franchise was actually good? When the voice actors were awesome, the level designs were more beautiful, and there were not so many boring moments to completely ruin the game? If you're looking for an epic Star Fox game, give Star Fox 64 a go. The Super Nintendo Star Fox was great, but not as developed. Adventures was terrible with its low design and annoying voices, and I don't think I'll ever get Assault and Command because Adventures ruined the franchise. So Star Fox 64 is the best game in the series. Though I don't trust the upcoming 3DS remake because it might use the awful voice actors from the later games instead of the voices we all know and love from this game. And don't forget one really awesome quote from Star Fox 64. Do a barrel roll! While I do criticize New Super Mario Bros. For not bringing much new stuff to the franchise, and while they mostly just recycled old stuff, at least it has some innovation. Besides, the game is still amazing. It has probably the best graphics on the system, it has a Mega Mushroom and a Mini Mushroom. that allow you to change size. And the mini games are also fun. Super Mario World. I'm probably the only person in the world who grew up with this game and doesn't have it in the top 10. But I still think this game is an amazing game. It brings back so many memories. The graphics, sound, the replay value, and the fact that it introduces a cape, and not to mention Yoshi, make this game a fine masterpiece. You thought Kirby's Adventure was a masterpiece. You'd be right. But Kirby's Nightmare in Dreamland is even better. The graphics are much better. You can now wear hats with copy abilities. Real Kirby can now run on water. You can even play as Meta Knight after beating X mode. Believe it or not, this was the first Kirby game I've ever played. And the soundtrack just brings back so many memories. Yep, I think Kirby and the Amazing Mirror is even better than Nightmare in Dreamland. There's more stuff to do. It has the same improvements from Nightmare in Dreamland, except for the fact you can't play as Meta Knight. Use the exploration feature like in the Metroid games. If you haven't checked this game out, please do. There's so much to explore in this game. Oh, I can feel all of you fuming with rage at me right now. There, I said it. I think Kirby's Air Ride is a great game. It has awesome music, beautiful graphics, amazing minigames, not to mention you can steal powers even though it's a racing game. You can also glide. How many times do you see that in a racing game? Okay, maybe it's been in a lot of racing games, but not as much racing games that I have played. Sure, it's pretty short and the A button does most everything, but it never gets old. And the A only covers itself once. Oh yeah, and this game also has the city trial, which I love. I wish I could elaborate, but maybe you should play the game and you'll understand why I love it. This was not an easy choice. I had a hard time deciding which game is better, Metroid Prime 2 Echoes, or Metroid Prime 3 Corruption. Eventually came down to a tough decision. All three have realistic graphics and great controls that are hard to master. The original Metroid Prime has better soundtrack, starts the trilogy, and is a great innovator to the gaming world. Metroid Prime 2 has more abilities than Metroid Prime, it's more story-driven, has better graphics, it has the screw attack, and even has better bosses, even though the Boost Guardian is annoying because of its annoying moves and the fact there's no light shield in the room. As for Prime 3, it has improved controls that are harder to master, has even greater bosses, and even has voice acting in a Metroid game. Not to mention you can also go to more planets. You know what, this is too much pressure. I don't know which one deserves to be on the list more. You decide. I honestly can't. Kirby 64. This game is amazing. Sure, you can't float forever, which makes the game harder, but the stone power has improved because you can move around when you have B used, even when you're in stone form. Sure, the cutter ability is annoying because it hinders your movement until it comes back, but the game's still great. You can combine abilities and it has colorful graphics. It's also the only regular Kirby game to have 3D graphics. Don't get me wrong, Epic Yarn and Air Ride are great, but there hasn't been a 3D Kirby game that's worked on the normal Kirby games yet. Well, not yet. I heard that one's going to come out later this year, but as of now, Kirby 64 is the only Kirby 3D game to play like a regular Kirby game. Pokemon Ranger Shadows of Almia. I have said this countless times, but have you ever heard of this game? Seriously, it has epic soundtrack, awesome graphics, and so many awesome missions. I know some people will beg to differ, but ever heard of a personal opinion? Yeah, I mentioned the amazing storyline. It's awesome. But I think this game is much better than this disappointment. Wanna know why I don't like Guardian Signs? Go watch my review of it. Shadows of Almia for the win. Donkey Kong 64. This game brought Donkey Kong into the third dimension, and you can now play as Donkey Kong, Diddy Kong, Linky Kong, Tiny Kong, and Chunky Kong. The graphics are amazing. Even has some great dialogue, not to mention it has a bit of voice acting, and great boss battles. It also has many collectibles. You know what? I'll just let Nintendo explain the collectibles.
Each Kong is collected on individual coins, colored bananas, blueprints, and golden bananas. Use the coins to buy each of the Kongs their own individual weapons, musical instruments, and special abilities, which scattered throughout the level are special triggers, pads, and barrels. The only specific Kongs can use said items and abilities to reach further parts of the level. Where you find color-coded bananas only each individual Kong can collect, and you use these bananas to feed a giant hippo so he can find enough to weigh down a giant pig so he can open up a door to fight a boss. And each boss has to be fought with different Kongs, so again, you have to switch. And throughout the level are bad guys with different colored hair, which again, you can only hear specific Kongs. Get blueprints, which where you can trade golden bananas, and you can only use the golden bananas to find, yeah, that's a lot of stuff to collect!
Yes it is, Nintendo. Oh my gosh, we're not even done with part 1 and we're halfway there. Remember the original Paper Mario? That game was amazing. It has a 2D Mario in a 3D world, and it has a great storyline for a game where Bowser's the main antagonist. The battle system is awesome. The soundtrack's amazing, and is this game not epic? Heck yes! Super Mario 64 is a masterpiece. It is the icon of N64 games. It's a massive innovator to the gaming world because it gives us a great camera that you can change in a great way, though it does take some getting used to. The graphics, sound, and gameplay are fun, and it brings Mario to the third dimension. It's not just a Mario game in 3D, it's more than that. It's great fun. Oh, and if you're very skilled at it, you can also do some great speedruns. This is truly a great N64 game. No wonder Mario 54321 uses this game's texture hacks for its Super Mario 64 bloopers. This game is a masterpiece. What? Banjo-Kazooie is only number 23? How could you? Banjo-Kazooie deserves much higher, Spud. You are evil. No, I am not. I did not grow up with this game. There, I said it. This game was not a part of my childhood. And just because I didn't grow up with Banjo-Kazooie doesn't make me a terrible person. But that doesn't stop me from thinking that this is a great game. I think Nintendo made a great point in its greatest N64 games list. This game is a better game than Mario 64. Not by much, but it was enough to steal the number 23 spot. Graphics improved, level design is better, you can turn into animals, and you have more abilities to use. The soundtrack is also great. Super Mario Sunshine. I love this game. It has great graphics, beautiful level design, great music, well-made layouts, and even though it's different from the classics, it still feels somewhat similar to the classics. And unlike Banjo-Kazooie, Mario Sunshine isn't completely overrated. Don't get me wrong, Banjo-Kazooie is a great game, but I prefer Mario Sunshine. And if you don't, well, that's okay, and you should probably make your own list. If you want to. You thought Paper Mario was a great game. Paper Mario the Thousand-Year Door is even better. The graphics have improved as well as the battle sequences. Now you have an audience cheering for you. And sometimes special effects happen like a boo turning someone invisible, the crowd throwing things like mushrooms or rocks. Sometimes they can be annoying. You can also counterattack in addition to just guarding against enemies, and the storyline is just grand. You can also play as Bowser at some points in the game, and it's even more challenging at times. Heck yes! Super Mario RPG was the first Mario RPG game ever. It has amazing graphics for the Super Nintendo, the storyline is awesome, you can even team up with Bowser. I mean, have you ever thought you'd see the day Mario teaming up with Bowser? Yes, I know what happened other times, but this was the first time. You can also team up with Peach, Mallow, and of course, Geno. Boss music is also better in my opinion. Not to mention, this game also plays somewhat like Final Fantasy. Thank you, Square Enix. You and Nintendo make a great team. You should get together more often so we have a better chance of having Sora in the Kingdom Hearts series in the next Smash Bros. Game. But sadly, I may never see the day. Okay, sorry for getting sidetracked. Where were we? Oh yeah, this game is a must-have for all RPG fans.